Hey, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into, well, one of the toughest periods in American history, the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine a time when jobs just vanished, banks were closing left and right, and there was this real feeling of despair hanging over everything.
It really was. The scale of the hardship back in the 1930s is, well, it's hard for us to fully grasp today.
Yeah.
You had millions out of work, families losing farms, homes.
Yeah.
The whole economic system felt like it was just teetering.
And right into the middle of all this steps Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR. He becomes president when things look just about their bleakest, didn't they?
Exactly, a moment of profound crisis.
So our mission today really is to understand how he tried to pull the country out of this mess. We're going to look at his main ideas, the different things he put in place, and hopefully explain it all pretty simply.
Right. So when we talk about FDR's response, this big set of initiatives he launched, there's a name for that, right?
Yeah, that was the New Deal. Okay, so let's unpack that term, New Deal. It sounds singular, but it wasn't just one thing, was it?
No, not at all. That's the key. The New Deal is the umbrella term for, gosh, a whole collection of different programs, new laws, executive orders, everything FDR created.
Okay.
Think of it as a really ambitious, kind of multi-pronged plan, trying to fix the economy and help people who are just really struggling.
It sounds like a whirlwind of activity, especially right at the beginning. I've heard about the first few months being particularly intense.
You're probably thinking of the 100 days.
That's it, the 100 days. Why was that period so significant? What happened then?
Well, the 100 days refers to, yeah, basically the first 3 months FDR was in office. And faced with this huge national emergency, he and Congress just worked incredibly fast.
Hmm.
Nonstop, really. They
Right.
pushed through a massive amount of new legislation. Just boom, boom, boom. All aimed at tackling the most urgent problems right away.
So it was like hitting the ground running.
Exactly. It was a real demonstration of decisive action. And it definitely set the tone for his whole administration's approach, like, we're going to do something.
Yeah, it definitely sent a message that he wasn't just going to sit back and, I don't know, wait for things to fix themselves.
Right.
And part of getting that message across, I think, was how he talked to people directly. Those fireside chats.
Fireside chats were brilliant, just a brilliant strategy. They were basically these informal radio addresses he gave.
Informal, like just chatting.
Pretty much. He'd sit down, use simple, everyday language, and just explain what the government was trying to do, what the challenges were, why he thought these policies would actually work.
So it felt like the president was talking right to you in your own living room.
That was exactly the effect. It was incredibly powerful for building understanding and, crucially, trust. People were scared, uncertain.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So that direct communication, that calm voice explaining things, it really helped foster a sense of maybe national unity and hope, support for what he was trying.
Okay. Now, if we look at the big picture aims of the New Deal, I remember hearing about like a three-part goal, the three R's. What were those?
Ah, yes, the three R's. They were sort of the fundamental pillars guiding all these New Deal policies. They stood for relief, recovery, and reform.
Relief, recovery, reform. Okay.
Think of it as a strategy with those three core elements, yeah.
Okay, let's dig into those. Relief sounds pretty straightforward, like immediate help for people who were really hurting.
Precisely. Relief was all about getting immediate assistance to those suffering most acutely. Things like providing food, shelter for the homeless.
Basic survival stuff.
Exactly. Direct financial aid for families who'd lost everything, and also creating jobs, even temporary ones, through various programs. It was about stopping the bleeding.
Right, triage. Okay, so then recovery. That was about getting the engine going again, the economy.
That's right. Recovery involved measures aimed at getting the economy back onto a sustainable path, trying to boost industrial production, agricultural production.
Getting factories running, farms producing again.
Yeah, and stabilizing prices, which had just plummeted. And ultimately, the big goal of recovery was getting more people back into actual lasting jobs.
Makes sense. And the last one, reform. That sounds more long-term, like fixing the system.
Yes, reform was about making fundamental changes to the financial and economic systems, addressing the underlying weaknesses that had helped cause the Depression in the first place.
So preventing it from happening again.
That was the idea. This involved things like regulating banks, regulating the stock market, trying to stop the kind of risky behavior that led to the crash.
Okay, that makes sense. Relief, recovery, reform, that framework helps. So that brings us nicely to some of the specific programs, the famous alphabet soup agencies.
Yes, the alphabet soup. There are many.
Let's start with one aimed at the banks, the FDIC. What was that all about?
The FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. This was huge. It was set up to protect people's money in banks.
Protected how?
Well, before the FDIC, if your bank failed, and lots of banks were failing, you could just lose everything. All your savings, gone.
Terrifying.
Totally. So the FDIC insured deposits up to a certain amount, meaning even if your bank went under, the government guaranteed you'd get your insured money back.
Wow. That must have been a massive relief.
Oh, absolutely vital. It was key to restoring public trust in the banking system. People needed to feel safe putting their money back into banks for the whole economy to even start working again.
Yeah, you wouldn't want everyone just stuffing cash under mattresses. Okay, related to finance, what about the SEC?
Right, the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. This one focused on the stock market.
Wall Street.
Yep. The goal was to make sure the stock market operated fairly, honestly, to prevent, the wild speculation and, frankly, fraud that helped cause the 1929 crash.
Feel like a watchdog.
Exactly. Think of it like a referee for the financial markets. The SEC set rules for trading stocks, made companies disclose important financial information to investors, trying to stop things like insider trading, basically bringing transparency and accountability.
Okay, so FDIC for banks, SEC for stocks. Got it. Now, shifting gears a bit, agriculture was hit really hard too, right? What was the AAA?
The AAA Agricultural Adjustment Act. This was designed to help farmers who were facing just unbelievably low prices for their crops and livestock.
So what was the plan? How did it try to help?
Well, the core idea was pretty counterintuitive, actually. It aimed to reduce the oversupply of farm products.
Reduce supply when people are hungry.
Exactly. That's where the controversy came in. The thinking was, if there's less supply, prices will go up and farmers will earn more. So the government actually paid farmers not to plant on part of their land or to raise fewer animals.
They paid them not to farm.
Essentially, yes. Or sometimes, controversially, even to destroy crops already harvested or plow them under.
Oof, I can see why that was controversial. Destroying food when people were starving.
It was deeply troubling to many, yeah.
Yeah.
It did help stabilize prices for some farmers, but it highlighted these really difficult choices, these economic paradoxes during the crisis. Was it the right way? People definitely debated that. Yeah. Tough calls.
Wow.
Okay, let's move to programs directly about getting people jobs.
Yeah.
There was the CCC, right? What did they do?
The CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps. This was actually a really popular one. It gave jobs mainly to young, unemployed men, usually single men.
Doing what kind of work?
Environmental projects, mostly. They worked across the country, planting millions of trees in forests, building trails and campgrounds in national and state parks, fighting soil erosion, that kind of thing.
So jobs and helping the environment.
Exactly. It provided much-needed work, a paycheck, food, shelter for these young guys, gave them a sense of purpose, and it helped conserve natural resources for the future. A real win-win in many ways.
Okay. Then there was also the PWA. How is that different?
The PWA, Public Works Administration, also focused on jobs, but it was different from the CCC. It tended to fund much bigger, large-scale construction projects, more infrastructure focused.
Like what sort of things?
Think bridges, big dams, new schools, hospitals, courthouses, even things like aircraft carriers, major public facilities.
So creating lots of construction jobs. Significant numbers, yeah. For skilled workers, unskilled workers. And like the CCC's work, these projects modernized the country's infrastructure, things that provided lasting public benefit.
So CCC, younger guys, environment, PWA, bigger construction projects, infrastructure.
That's a good way to put it. Now, there was another big one aimed at industry and labor together, the NRA.
Right, the NRA, National Recovery Administration. I remember seeing pictures of a blue eagle symbol associated with that.
Yes, the Blue Eagle, that was their symbol. The NRA was really ambitious. It tried to get businesses and workers within entire industries to cooperate.
Cooperate how?
By setting up industry-wide codes. These codes would establish standards for things like minimum wages, maximum weekly work hours, fair prices for goods.
Trying to stop businesses from just slashing wages and prices to compete.
Exactly. Prevent that kind of cutthroat competition, stabilize industries, and guarantee workers a basic standard. Businesses that agreed to follow their industry's code could display that Blue Eagle. We do our part.
But I seem to remember this one ran into trouble.
It did. It was very complex, hard to enforce. Some businesses felt it stifled competition too much.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the Supreme Court stepped in.
Oh.
In 1935, the court declared the main part of the NRA unconstitutional. So it shows that not everything FDR tried worked out or lasted in its original form.
Right, a reminder that it was experimental. Okay, what about the TVA? That sounds huge, like focused on a whole region.
The TBA, Tennessee Valley Authority, yes, this was massive. A really unique, large-scale project focused on the Tennessee Valley region, which was one of the absolute poorest, most underdeveloped areas in the entire country.
So what did the TVA actually do?
It built a whole series of dams along the Tennessee River and its tributaries. This did several things at once.
Okay.
One, the dams generated hydroelectric power, bringing cheap electricity to a vast rural area that mostly didn't have it. Huge impact.
Wow, yeah.
Two, building the dams created thousands of jobs right there in the region. And three, the dams helped control the terrible floods that regularly plagued the valley.
So power, jobs, flood control, all from one agency.
And more. They also did reforestation, taught better farming techniques. It was a really comprehensive effort to modernize and uplift an entire region. Very bold.
That sounds incredibly ambitious. Okay, one more from the list. The HOLC. What was its focus?
HOLC, Homeowners Loan Corporation. This one was about keeping people in their homes.
Because people were losing them.
Massively. Foreclosures were epidemic during the Depression. People just couldn't make their mortgage payments. So the HOLC stepped in to help homeowners who were at risk.
How did it help?
It offered low-interest loans that allowed people to refinance their existing mortgages, basically restructure the debt into more manageable payments over a longer term.
So it stopped them from being kicked out.
Exactly. It prevented a huge wave of foreclosures, allowing millions of families to stay in their homes during that incredibly difficult time. Another form of, well, relief and stability.
Okay. So looking back at all these different programs, this huge New Deal effort, what would you say was the big takeaway? What was FDR's overall philosophy here?
I think FDR's approach was really defined by a willingness to experiment, to try things, and a firm belief that the government had to step in. It had a responsibility to act.
Which was different from before, right?
No, very different. A significant shift from the more hands-off, laissez-faire attitude that had generally been the policy. Especially different from his predecessor, Hoover, at least initially. FDR wasn't afraid to use government power, try new ideas, and if one thing didn't work,
Try something else.
try something else. Pivot. Be pragmatic.
So a much more active, involved federal government in the economy and just in people's daily lives.
Absolutely. The New Deal represented this huge, really unprecedented expansion of the federal government's role in American society.
Yeah.
It covered all those bases we talked about.
Yeah.
Immediate relief, trying to get the economy recovering, and making reforms to prevent future disasters. It fundamentally reshaped how Americans saw the government's responsibilities.
And it sounds like even with some programs not working out or being controversial, the overall impact was pretty profound and lasting.
It really was. Many of the ideas, the structures, things like Social Security, which came a bit later, FDIC, SEC regulations, the groundwork was laid during the New Deal. It really changed the landscape of American government and society in ways we still feel today.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive, trying to untangle that massive response to such a huge crisis. Before we wrap up, here are just a few questions for you, our listeners, to maybe think about.
First off, what were the biggest, most significant problems that Franklin Roosevelt was really trying to solve when he became president during the Great Depression?
Can you name and maybe just briefly describe, say, 3 different programs or key ideas that were part of that New Deal package?
What were those fireside chats we talked about, and why do you think they were such an effective tool for FDR?
Thinking about those financial reforms, in simple terms, what was the main goal behind creating the FDIC and the SEC?
And how did programs like the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, and the Public Works Administration, the PWA, try to tackle the massive unemployment problem?
And maybe a final thought to chew on. Considering everything we've discussed, all these different actions, what do you personally think might have been the single most impactful thing FDR did during this period? And, why do you think so?
Yeah, give that some thought.
Definitely something to ponder. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.